Welcome to Beastmoon Hunt. It only comes out once a month and it's a very interesting event to play. It's basically capture the flag where you run around the map trying to find a pip, and then when you found some, you run around the map capturing the circles with your teammates to get points. So in this version of Beastmoon, you want to stick together with your team and not capture alone. And you can see where your teammates are because there's arrows on the map with your team's color. To get even more points, you fight battles, and if you win you get points, if you lose it then you don't get anything. Moon and Sun are 2v2 battles, which the lower health to medium forms will benefit more from. Star and I are 3v3 battles, which are more useful for the medium to bigger forms to fight. So ideally, it's best to play a medium health form, but obviously if they are all taken, then you need to play whatever is left. Now the reason why Beastmoon Hunt is a very interesting event is because it's reliant on skill but also RNG. But how are you supposed to be skillful if RNG is in the equation? You could be the best player in the world, but if King Zhao decides that your deck is going to fail even if you're discarding properly, or if your team is going to go second, then you lose. Like, you can't really control that. So in terms of the deck failing, this is why you see many players having their forms tiered up to increase their card space instead of having 3. But you can still win playing as a tier 1 form if you are discarding properly. Some of the best beginner forms are the Crocs, Pigs and the Minotaurs. This is because they have 200 hit cards for 2 pips, which is crucial in killing the lower health forms within the first or second round. Out of all of the tier 1 forms, the Stormcroc is the only form that gives you 3 copies of a 200 hit spells, and you can purchase another shark at the vendor, meaning you have 4 copies of a 200 hit. This is why people love playing the Stormcroc, as you don't deck fail as much if you're discarding some of the blades to find your sharks. Through that explanation, I hope you can get a gist of how to read the forms properly and deciphering what forms are worth playing. For example, the Death Cyclops is quite a bad form to play because it requires 4 pips to do a 200 damage hit. And that is because you have 550 health to work with. Although your 200 damage hit is a drain, you're taking too many rounds to kill as this form. Your 2-pip is an overtime and only does 50 damage each tick, which is very bad because you need to kill an opponent within 1 to 2 rounds, and you can't be doing that with just 50 ticks. You do have a 225 trap card, but it means that you are relying on your teammate to still be alive to even use that trap, and like 99% of the time your teammate is probably dead because the rule of thumb in Beastmoon Hunt is to kill the lowest health enemy first, which is your teammate, because you have 550 health, your health is massive and your teammate's health is probably lower than yours, meaning that the enemy is going to be targeting your teammate. So if your teammate is dead, how are they going to use that trap that you put on? It's like, yeah, it's very difficult to play the Death Cyclops. If you have troubles reading the symbols of the cards, I advise going to the icon dictionary in your spell book and learn it from there. But what's been useful for me is just ignoring all the random symbols and seeing it as an additional benefit. For example, this Seraph means that it does 200 damage, and if there is a heal overtime on the enemy, then it removes that heal overtime and gives you a 100 trap. But you mainly just use that card as a 200 hit. You don't really use it for the utility. The only cards you should be cautious about though is the swap cards. So obviously you don't want to give your shield over to an enemy or swap a trap onto yourself. So yeah, those are when you do need to like learn those symbols and learn what cards you are using. Oh, thank you for that shield. Appreciate it. This is an interesting game. Screw your tiered form. Tier 1 Croc Adder with skills. GG's, go away. Get out of here. Also, in Beastmoon Hunt, always kill a life form first. This gives you an idea of which battles to fight and which battles to avoid. For example, if you see a Life Drake and Storm Elf pair together, then avoid that fight as you have to kill the life first, but the Storm Elf also needs to die first and you can't really kill them at the same time, so you will most likely lose that matchup. Some other tips would be, if you are a lower health form, you want to be in first position, so you have to walk into the enemy first and initiate battles. You are the one that are starting the battles. This means you can use your knowledge to your advantage by walking into the higher health forms first, unless they are a form that shields or stuns. So you want those forms to be in second position because you don't want to get stunned. So that also tells you which battles to avoid, because the Storm Colossus, Storm Rat, Storm Elf, and Storm Wolf all can stun, meaning if they are paired up together, then it's a very hard battle to win. Here is another example, but I'm on the losing team because my team doesn't know about positioning, where they are repeatedly pulling the Storm Rat first, and again, a Storm Rat can stun and they can dispel, meaning you're losing pips when you get dispelled. When that person is put in first position, there's like a 90% chance you are losing that fight. And then on top of that, we have a Cyclops in a 2v2 battle. They just bumped that up to 95% failure, and who would have thought both of the matchups were a loss? As a life form, you want to be in second position because you want to use turn order to your advantage. Remember how you always need to kill the life first? This means that the enemy will be focusing on you, and since you're in second position, your spell is going to be delayed, so you can heal yourself when the enemy lands that first hit on you. But before you heal yourself, you have to see if you and your teammate can kill the enemy first round or second round. A Beastmoon terminology that people often say is don't cap alone and defend what you cap. We already covered that you should stick to your team when capturing around the map. When people say to defend, it means that your team is losing by a landslide. Check what the scoreboard looks like. If your team is losing by a lot, you have to stop capturing because it gives the other team more points when they recapture what you captured. This means you need to defend what you captured, so if your team has captured Moon, then you're going to be waiting at Moon to start a fight. After every fight you enter, make sure to always refill your health, pips, and treasure cards at spawn. You will need to run around the map again to find pips. In this version of Beastmoon, you are allowed to flee without losing your form, but you will be giving the other team 2 extra points. If the fight is ultimately a loss, then you flee, but if you know you're going to win it, then just stay in the battle. Before fleeing, ask your teammate if they have a minor blessing. You get them randomly from collecting coin chests if you have extra TC space. That means if you're a tiered form, you're going to have a lot of TC space, meaning the more chests you open, the more random TCs you get, which is actually pretty bad because it clogs your hand. You have to go back to spawn and delete them out of your deck. The only useful card you should keep is the minor blessing and maybe a shield, and basically you use the minor blessing when your teammate is dead. Do not use it when your teammate is not dead, and do not use it on yourself. In terms of if you win or lose the overall Beastmoon games, it really doesn't matter. You're going to just sign up for another game anyways, so a win or a loss isn't a flex. All you care about is winning your own fights because it gives you more points to level your progress bar or the scroll of fortune. That is literally the purpose of Beastmoon, to gain points. Ultimately, it is up to your team if you win the game and you literally have no control of your team. You also can't control deck RNG, whether that's your own deck or your teammate's deck, whether you fizzle, whether your team goes first or second, etc. Focus on winning your own battles and just have fun. I stream Beastmoon on Twitch, so be sure to catch me live, and please share this video to people who want to learn Beastmoon. If you want to learn Beastmoon Mayhem, the other version of Beastmoon, check out this video.